First of all, a very big thank you to each and every one of you for participating, not just in tonight's dinner, but in every way that you're part of the EMET organization and the EMET family. Thank you so much for being part of the EMET family. It's really a zechut for all of us to be in a family with you. You know, when I think about the EMET ambassadors, what is an ambassador? And in a few moments, you're going to have a chance to watch a video that highlights different parts of EMET. The video will highlight an introduction to EMET, as well as one of the programs that we're most proud of at EMET, that actually is taking place as we speak right now in the EMET headquarters, the EMET Step It Up program, the higher level girls program. And you're also going to watch a short piece about the EMET Fellowship Program and our trips to Poland. Immediately after the video, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from a person who's very close to the EMET organization, Elisha Wellerstein, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what it means to be a Jewish ambassador from his perspective. But I want to share with you something short right now, and I'll tell you that when I am in the midst of all of you and the other visionaries who support the EMET organization, Rabbi Butler spoke a few minutes ago, and the person who he works for, Mr. Aaron Wolfson, when I am in his presence, I get goosebumps. I feel a certain awe, certain feeling, because I am in the presence of somebody who really thinks about the entire Jewish world and cares about each and every Jew. Each and every person here who made a commitment to go beyond yourself, to think bigger than yourself, and to give of yourself, whether it's your time, whether it's your resources, whether it's any way, shape, or form. I am in awe of all of you. Shh, please, please. Shh. Пожалуйста. I know a few words of Russian. There's a person in this room tonight. His name is Boris Gadol. Okay? He gave me permission to mention him tonight. Boris, I had the opportunity to know since he's 13 years old. Interesting story. I was a counselor in a summer camp at the age of 16, 17 years old. And Boris came to camp, and the first day of camp, he tells me, it's my bar mitzvah. But he said it as if, and passed me the tissues. Like this, it just happens to me by bar mitzvah. And I said to him, it's your bar mitzvah, we have to make a bar mitzvah party for you. And long story short, Saturday night at the camp, Abba, you were there, right? Saturday night in the camp, there was a yeshiva that happened to be on the same campus, and they made a big malava malka, and there were about 100 yeshiva students there. And I remember like it's today, Boris was sitting, he was pretty short at the time, he was sitting there right in the front, and there was a famous Jewish singer, Mr. Abish Brut, who was singing there. And in the middle of this malava malka, Boris turns to me and he goes, I want to go to yeshiva. And as it turned out, my parents had the opportunity to help Boris and then his brother and sister to go to yeshiva throughout high school. And Boris and his brother came to my wedding in Silver Spring, Maryland a few years later, and we've stayed in touch very, very close throughout the years. And then, about 3 months ago, EMET ran its largest charity campaign. And we decided to run this charity campaign a little bit differently than the previous years. The EMET budget has grown, the responsibilities have grown. As Rabbi Moshe said, we have now 22 people on staff, and we had to do things a little bit differently. And we decided to, instead of it being the EMET campaign, it's going to become a teamwork campaign. And we had 92 teams at the charity campaign. And there's a few different team leaders who are here tonight who were some of the most successful teams on the charity campaign. And a big thank you to each and every one of you. And Alicia, who's going to speak in a few minutes, somehow found the time to manage the teams. And he was on a WhatsApp group with each and every one of the 92 teams. And Boris came to a meeting we had about the teams. And just to understand what the teams were, the teams is like a small mini campaign within the larger campaign. And Boris took a pretty high goal. And Boris is the vice president of New York Bank of Queens. New York Savings Bank? New York Community Bank. If you need a banker, he's your guy, okay? Boris, you're going to get something out of this, you know. And Boris contacted a lot of his clients. And he ended up raising over $15,000 that was then matched times 2 during the campaign. And it was Boris Gadol's campaign and the Step It Up campaign, and Mr. and Mrs. Bababek over here. And thank you so much. You were part of the competing campaign. You beat Boris by just a little bit. Boris reached out to so many of his clients who supported the organization during the campaign. Later that night, after we celebrated, I turned to Boris and I said, Boris, I hope you still have a job tomorrow. You know? And I looked at his eyes, and the eyes told me, even if I don't have a job, it was worth it. And I want to share with you a short story that happened. This is a 100% true story. You can look it up online. I can send you the link to it if you'd like. This is a story that happened during the Great Depression. And I'll paraphrase the story to you, but this is the basic story. The pasuk says, the verse says, when a person gives ma'aser, when a person gives a portion to the kohen or to tzedakah, the Torah uses the following term. It says, and every portion from any of the holies of the children of Israel bring to the kohen shall be his. It says, you give tzedakah, and it is yours. It's a very strange statement. You give tzedakah, and it is yours. And the following story took place. The Rosh Yeshiva of the Slobodka Yeshiva, Moshe Mordechai Epstein, was in America in 1924, raising much-needed funds for his yeshiva. During his visit, he received an urgent telegram. The Lithuanian authorities were going to conscript the Slobodka students into the army. Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel, the founder and dean of the yeshiva, made a decision to open a branch of Slobodka Yeshiva in the ancient city of Hebron in Eretz Yisrael. He would send 150 students to Palestine to establish the yeshiva, and in this way free them from service in the ruthless Lithuanian army. That monumental undertaking would require a sum of $25,000 to transport house and establish the yeshiva. Rabbi Epstein was put to the task. He discussed the program with a dear friend of the yeshiva, Mr. Schiff, who immediately decided to contribute the mass sum in its entirety. Years later, in the early 1930s, the tide turned for Mr. Schiff. With the crash of the stock market and the plummeting real estate prices, it took only a few months before he was forced out of his own apartment and was relegated to the cellar of a building that was once his, existing on meager rations. At the same time, the health of Rabbi Epstein was failing, and he no longer had the strength to travel. His son-in-law, Rabbi Cheskel Sarna, made the trip to America in his stead to raise funds for the Slobodka Yeshiva. He did not know of Mr. Schiff's situation until the man got up to speak at a parlor meeting on behalf of the yeshiva. My dear friends, he began, I do not wish my business misfortunes on anyone. I invested literally millions of dollars in all sorts of businesses, and they all failed. I have absolutely nothing to show for them. But there is one investment I made that continues to bear fruit. I gave $25,000 to establish a yeshiva in Hebron, and that investment is the best one I ever made. One must know where to invest. When Rabbi Sarna heard that Rabbi Schiff was literally bankrupt, he called Rabbi Epstein, who quickly responded to arrange him a $5,000 loan in order to get him back on his feet and begin doing business again. Through some generous benefactors, Rabbi Sarna got hold of the cash and went directly to the basement apartment where Rabbi Schiff now resided. He explained to him that Rabbi Epstein insisted that he take the money as a loan. Mr. Schiff jumped up in horror. What do you want from my life? The only money I have left is the $25,000 that I gave the yeshiva. Do you want to take that from me as well? And I think the message is clear. And I think that each and every one of you understand this message more than I will ever understand it. And that message is that when one gives tzedakah, when one goes beyond themselves, they don't lose anything. They become connected to something eternal. And Elisha, who's going to speak after the video, literally commits one day out of his week, every week, to help the EMET organization. And his wife, Leah, supports him in this 100%. And Alicia, I'm in awe, literally. And I really want to give a very special thank you to each and every one of you for being part of this evening. And Bezrat Hashem, with Hashem's help, we will help so many people come back to Torah and mitzvot. And with partners such as yourselves, we can really make this all happen.